start off with the pledge of allegiance. Pulled it off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give me the roll call.
Commissioner Monet,
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez-Mitten,
Present.
Commissioner Laguna,
Present.
and Chair Okello,
Present.
and Commissioner Block is absent.
So go into public comment. Any but
So,
online?
yeah, I'll do the instructions. So spoken public comment will be accepted during the meeting in person or remotely through Zoom. Public comments in person will be taken first, followed by speakers on Zoom. You'll be called on by name to speak when it is your turn. If you wish to speak to the commission, please fill out a speaker slip located near the conference room door. If you have anything that you wish distributed to the commission and included in the official record, please hand it to myself and I will distribute it to the commission members and staff. For speakers on Zoom, please use the raise hand function to indicate you would like to speak for an item. When the chair calls on public comment, please raise hand. Speakers will be notified shortly before they're called to speak. You'll be provided with the ability to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. And public comment is limited to 2 minutes. And so I do have one speaker slip for item 3, general public comment, or Steve Kennedy.
Thank you. As you know, my proposal to create a video for youth was denied funding at your October 3rd meeting. Based on I stand by my allegation that my proposal was raped. Hannah, I want you to know that you abridged my freedom of speech and de facto, you killed my baby. I'm keeping this statement today free of profanity because I would like to come back to the commission next year to ask for reimbursement for the video I will create out of my back pocket. But I think you collectively owe an apology to your youth commissioner because you denied that person a tremendous opportunity to offer input on an educational video designed for the schools. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. See you next year.
Mr. Kennedy, I just want to be on the record.
Excuse me. We're not gonna comment. So shall we proceed on? Do you have any other speaker?
No hands raised in Zoom and no other speaker slips.
Okay. Could we proceed on to the next item? Action to set the agenda. Did I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we set the agenda for the December 5th meeting.
Do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The Parks Foundation report.
So just wanted to update that we have 3 artists who are busy with our next 3 posters for Sawyer Camp Trail, San Pedro Valley, and Winderlick Park. So we hope to be unveiling that artwork in early spring, I believe. And then we have a very exciting opportunity to perhaps work with high school mural artists, testing out at Coyote Point, possibly the Promenade restroom building, or a big wall that overlooks Coyote Point. And this would be a really exciting opportunity to bring more art into the parks and also bring high school kids out into the parks creating the artwork. So stay tuned for that because it probably won't happen till the summertime. But then when it does happen over the course of a week or 2, if people happen to be in the parks, they can see this mural being created. And then I just wanted to make a note of our recent e-newsletter. It was Giving Tuesday this week, so we're at the height of the giving season. The mention was made of big fundraising events. This is a big time. And so our e-newsletter that went out this week was highlighting a couple of the programs that are fundraising for, including the bilingual community engagement intern that is based out of Flood in Friendship Park. I know that they're looking for people to apply for that position, so if anyone in the North Fair Oaks area, and that would be something that really kicks off in March. Raquel Enriquez has been in that role and she's leaving at the end of this month. And then we highlighted Bicycle Sunday, which is something that the Parks Foundation underwrites. And we profiled one of the groups that's an active user of Bicycle Sunday, which is Peninsula Velo Cycling Club. And they have this Beat the Clock time trial series that they use along Bicycle Sunday, which will kick off in the spring. And so we were just highlighting how that weekly, almost weekly event is used by, in this case, a cycling group. And then we also mentioned the Flood Park Playground, which is very exciting because it's accessible and nature themed and has a zip line. So those were the things that we've been highlighting. And I was happy to answer any questions about anything the foundation's doing. Thanks.
Through the chair, just a really quick question. Where are we and how are we, because it sounds exciting that, Coyote Point, they have a lot of time and money and equity that's gonna be put into it. Where are we in terms of the restaurant? Like, how are we, like, do you have a bidder? Is ribbon cutting even a formidable future?
That's definitely not a question for me. That would be for Nicholas. Sorry, I can't answer that.
Because it's in, just because you do a lot of things at Coyote Point. I
There's
figured.
a lot going on that have nothing to do with, so sorry, I can't answer
It's
that
okay.
question.
Any other comments, questions?
One, just in general, I know in the past, there have been a lot of the drives with the Giving Tuesday and all of that. I saw your post where you guys were tabling over at, I think it was Sawyer Camp again. Were there any kind of goals for hitting that, and any like milestone for Giving Tuesday, or?
No, I
you're
mean,
just-
we just choose that day to be out on the trail. There's a lot of noise on Giving Tuesday. It's kind of the
Sure.
kickoff to the
Yeah.
giving season. And for us, we like having a physical presence in one of the parks just to connect with people, pass out water and oranges, and maybe kind of capture some new donors, which we did do. We caught some new donors. But in the past, when Giving Tuesday first came, it was still our donors. They just gave on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right.
So for us, it's like, let's just be in a park and attract new people. But it's can get very noisy. A lot of nonprofits choose not to participate, or they do it a week early. So for us, it's really, how does the whole giving season really, how does it turn out until December 31st?
Question, is there any foundation, because I think the Silicon Valley Community Foundation has matched.
They used to do a Gives Day in May, and that went away when Giving Tuesday really kind of ramped up.
Any other comments? We don't have to open this up to the public for comments, do we? Yeah, let's open it up to the public, any members of the public that want to address us on this point.
I have no speaker slips for this item and I'm currently not seeing any hands raised in Zoom.
Okay. Gives us liberty to move to the next item, the departmental update.
Yeah, so, included in, the report is a summary of, where we've been after the first 3 quarters of the year with regards to visitors. Really happy to see, we're just over 2.1 million. Last year, we were, somewhere in about that 2.5 million visitor range. So we're hoping to see us be closer to, over 2.5 and closer to that 3 million visitor range. If you look historically, that is where we were really pre-pandemic. In the last 2 years in particular, we've seen a decrease in our annual visitors served, largely because we've had such extensive closures as a result of winter storms. And that's really hurt us both primarily through Coyote Point as well as Crystal Springs Trail, which are our 2 most visited units. So closures there have really impacted our overall numbers. But to be where we are right now, we're very excited about. We are also making really remarkable progress on our 2 large cap projects, Tunitas Creek Beach and Flood Park. I was at Flood Park today, and it's looking absolutely amazing. The multi-use sports field fully functioning and passed its inspection. The tennis pickleball courts have been fully installed and lined, and we're now working on the the contractor's working on the spectator seating. Basketball courts are in. The picnic sites, both drop-in and reservation, are making great progress. You know, one of the things that I'm really excited about, I think I talked about this at the last meeting, are those youth tables. So the reservation sites have kid tables now. So really doing some remarkable things there that I think will set a new course for us on how we do things elsewhere in the system. Also, Don Horsley County Park at Tunis Creek Beach. We were there last meeting and we've continued to make progress there. Given the type of work that's remaining for us, a lot of this is going to be weather dependent. And so our ability to lay the surfacing on the trails is going to be weather dependent. Our ability to get some of the concrete to cure is going to be weather dependent. But we are still targeting, we're targeting really a February opening at this point. And again, that'll be weather permitting. And then just doing a lot of the kind of behind the scenes work for our project at San Bruno Mountain and making sure that our documentation is ready to go out and we can secure a contractor capable of delivering the project. We have a vendor selected for the restroom and the interpretive pavilion, which is the Romtech, the same company that did Memorial Parks facilities. And then we'll have a separate vendor that does the grading and paving for the picnic sites. And then lastly, as Sam, since you had asked, we are starting to structure our community engagement process for Coyote Point, specifically for Magic Mountain, and that's the playground. And so working with CMG Landscape Architects, who are the ones who did the flood, who are essentially doing the flood park project on the flood park playground. So they'll be responsible for leading the community engagement effort, developing the concepts, taking the community feedback, evolving those concepts to be a preferred alternative. We're also working with, I don't want to say Costa Rica, it's not, it's El Concilio. So we're working with El Concilio San Mateo to work on the local engagement. So recognizing that Coyote Point is both a local resource and a regional resource, we want to make sure that we're capturing both of those. We really need to make sure that when we go through this Magic Mountain project, we don't lose sight of one of those in exchange of the other. So that's something that we're really taking serious as we're structuring the scoping effort. And then lastly, we on the natural resource management side are just making progress on our Pescadero forest health and fuel reduction project. This is a huge project for us, and we're partnering with the San Mateo Resource Conservation District on it. But one more example of us trying to be more active in our stewardship approach, really, how are we being more hands-on with the way we manage our forests, but also how are we being more hands-on in the way we're mitigating fire threat to communities within our county and those nearby to our parks. And this area in particular knows the risks of fire, given that the CZU lightning complex fire was in that area. So we're very excited to be kind of entering this new era of stewardship for this department. And there's a lot of process left, including needing to go to the Board of Supervisors. But where we're at in our back end documents, we are feeling very confident about this project. And then lastly, yesterday we had an opportunity to have a employee recognition lunch. And this is something that we do every December and is really an opportunity for us to highlight the great work that the people in this department do. I cannot be more proud of everyone in this department and the work that they do. And I want to make sure that they all receive the recognition they deserve, the support they deserve, and that it's well understood that it's, you know, the people in this department that make things happen. And I get to be the one who talks with you all and talks to the board. But it's not me who does the heavy lifting. So we're very excited to be able to recognize the great work of the people in this department and celebrate that with them. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So that luncheon has happened
It happened yesterday.
and I want invited.
It's that's for our employees. of the department, so-
Oh.
No, that's for our employees and
I know, but you're constantly talking about them, so we wanted to be, it would be nice for us to be in the lunch and look at their faces. And thank them as well, so any comments, questions, Director?
One follow-up on the flood. So phase one, you said is December, right? And then I know that there's a whole bunch of other work. Do we have any potential dates for future phases? I knew we were gonna continue to just, provide bits and parts of the park, but do we have any proposed dates for the remaining phases?
yeah, we're still working on that. So Flood Park is this interesting situation in which we're going to have just rolling openings and construction for a very long time. So we're gonna be looking to do a soft opening this month of the sport facilities. And then there will be an official opening of phase one, probably around like mid-April, which is right after we do that, we will shut down a new portion of the park to start construction on the playground and improvements to restroom B. Then restroom B will be open, and then the playground will be open, and if we're lucky, the county will have some funds that we can dedicate to the next phase. So, this is really gonna be a rolling construction project for the foreseeable future. And so what I know right now is just that we're gonna try and get the sports facilities, which are all season, open this year, with the remainder of phase one open in April. And the reason we need to keep that closed until April is because a large portion of that area is landscaping. And so we have to give the landscaping time to establish and take and germinate. And if we're allowing people to go in there and run around and play, what's gonna end up happening is we're gonna have compaction of the soil, the vegetation isn't gonna grow. We have to come back in, shut that area down and replant everything. So we're just trying to make sure we do it right the first time.
Okay. Yeah, and okay, that makes sense. And where I was trying to get at, I wanted to know when the baseball field was gonna be done. So is that part of that April, all the sports fields, or that's a separate, okay?
So what's included in phase one is was technically the pump track, which has been open to the public. The kind of reformatting of the parking lot, the small multi-use field, the drop-in picnic areas, the reservation areas, the tennis pickleball courts, the basketball courts, the walking paths, the subsurface utilities, and the landscaping. And so that's all phase one. So that's what will be opening in, either December or April. Phase two is restroom B and the playground, and that will be under construction and opening in 2025.
Okay.
The baseball field has not been funded, and
Okay.
so that will be a phase three.
Okay.
That is the next thing to be constructed.
Yeah.
But the good news is the design documents and the construction documents for that phase of the project are done. So as soon as funding is allocated, we can get rolling on that.
Got it. Okay, cool, thanks.
Any other comments? Please. I like this visitor report data. And Coyote Point thus far has had the most number of visitors. Followed by the Crystal Springs Trail. San Pedro Valley Port has done pretty well as well. And Blue Mountain and the Marine, the Devil Marine Reserve. And, some very interesting data. And the fact that it's approaching pre-COVID levels. a very hard moment. And in terms of attachment number 3. I'm amazed at the number of agencies that we've partnered with that are helping us do the work that we do. I think it's particularly very impressive. And I would just I'd like to ask a couple of questions. So some of them just seem to be individual names for people, rather than all names. So when you say Walter, is that the name of a person or is that the name of a company?
In a lot of cases, it's an individual. So our volunteer coordinator does a lot in terms of connecting with corporate groups and organized groups, but there are individuals that aren't necessarily participating in our drop-in events or aren't part of another organized group that still work with our volunteer coordinator to find volunteer opportunities. And so there are occasions where there are just individuals named. Sometimes it's a Boy Scout that's doing a special project as well. So it's like the individual Boy Scout name.
Okay, and then the other question is that there's a Derek, for instance, on the first page, and the column park, it doesn't identify what particular park they may have helped with. So we don't have to answer the question, but it would just be interesting.
Sure, that's
Just be interesting to find out. And this may be an embarrassing question. On the next page, there's a column that talks about stewardship. The project. And what do you mean by stewardship?
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of an umbrella category for a lot of our projects that, sometimes they're identified specifically as, like a weeding project for certain species. So you'll see some that say weeding at a certain site or, like the one that's LIRA, that's a like short form for the species that they were weeding. But in a lot of cases, the category for stewardship, it really encompasses like those habitat restoration focused activities that the volunteers are doing. So in a lot of cases, it's weed pulling. In other cases, there's planting work, or they'll do watering or mulching for certain planting areas as well. So a lot of this just kind of fall under an umbrella term for stewardship.
Very good, thank you. I'm gonna open this to the public. If there are no other comments from any member of the public or the commission.
I have no speaker slips for this item, and make a call for any members of the public on Zoom who would like to comment. Seeing no hands raised.
Okay. Should we close this or any additional comment? I like this pest management report. I just didn't know that invasive species are considered pests. So I was thinking of rats and ants and all of that stuff, but I like the thought. Okay, so there being no public comments on this, thank you for the report. Very, very informative. So there being no comment, let's move on to the next item. Regular agenda. Item 7.1. Quarry Park informational update. There has been some activity that I've been personally involved in terms of this item. It initially contacted the Department of Public Works a few weeks ago with the intent of inviting somebody who's knowledgeable about this particular area and invite them to this commission meeting to come and talk to us about Quarry Park, and the flooding that occurs. And took a while, for somebody to respond to me. And only responded to me after I went ahead and actually called the department heads off. And the department head got that somebody, the director of roads services, to respond. And what came out of that response makes me feel that this commission needs to have a lot of discussion, other discussion on the issue. One, it's not been one time or twice or three times that a member of the public has come to us to talk about this one particular problem. And up to the time that I spoke with or rather made the effort to try to get somebody from Public Works, even I assumed that, flooding on a public street is primarily a public works issue. And realized that I wasn't entirely correct from that. On that particular assumption. But the good thing, there has been some ongoing discussions between the Parks Department and the Department of Public Works in terms of trying to sort out how that problem is gonna get resolved. And my understanding is that both departments have some sort of what's the expression, hand in the game, so to speak. And so I wanted to bring this item for discussion so that the commission certainly assures the public that definitely heard them. We're very cognizant of the concern that they have and the public the issues around those concerns, and that we're gonna do whatever we needed to do, to sort of bring some resolution, of some sort, to the matter. And I don't anticipate that resolution is gonna come today, or not even tomorrow. But the good thing is that there is some work that is being done in the background, to try to bring some particular resolution to this problem. And all I could ask members of the public is to be patient with us, and hopefully, the commission is gonna keep this on the agenda so that we can continually make the public aware that some effort is being made to resolve this matter.
I, through the chair, I do have a question for you, Chair. When you try to pave or navigate the way and trying to resolve something with Department of Public Works or anyone that is to alleviate any flooding or major road, would you have addressed it? I chair the Parks Commission in San Mateo County. Is there anyone that's gonna be attending to this, or how can you approach something like this? And if you do, can you even guarantee that someone's gonna get back to you, one, and two, if they're even gonna try to clean up? I mean, how's your approach with something like that to try to navigate?
Well, I can just report you on what I did. My initial intent was to invite somebody to this meeting and to have that somebody tell us what is Public Works aware. Does the Public Works Department have a plan to do something about the problem? I was unable to get somebody here, but I did get some communication from from the Public Works Department, and that communication is what I'm reporting. I've also subsequently had a discussion with Hannah, and we also talked about what has happened between the two departments. And so I'm confident that something is going to happen, but that the commission needs to keep its eyes, hands, and feet in it, you know, to make sure that, whatever happens sooner.
And through the chair, what are the big kind of issue, I mean, I think before, and just correct me if I'm wrong, I
Yeah.
remember that it was like, almost like just a jurisdictional, like, it's mine, it's yours, it's mine, we don't know really who's supposed to be kind of handling that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Has anything changed on that, or is that what needs to be resolved first? Or is it that everyone is like, okay, we wanna try to figure things out and now we just need to marshal resources to be able to kind of go after it?
Yeah, I think, I don't. I don't think it has been, well, I don't think it's from Parks perspective, um. You know, as I stated during our site visit to Quarry Park, the water that drains on public roads is really, the responsibility of, um. The entity who maintains that road system, as well as who would be responsible for maintaining whatever, stormwater or drainage system that would accompany that. That would be Public Works. And so, again, as I stated during the site visit, it is not a parks issue to fix the drainage issue in El Granada. This is not, and despite the fact that the comments have always focused on one road and one section of road, the reality is the entire mid-coast has drainage issues. The entire mid-coast has flooding issues. This really goes back to the problem here is really the original design of the community, in my opinion. But this is not a parks only issue. This is not a parks issue at all. So, yeah.
I would suggest, I would say that, from the discussion that I have, I don't think that's the understanding. If that's your understanding, Director, then we have a big problem. And, we have a big problem because, one can say that, the source of the water flow belongs to one entity. And so that water flow can be controlled from the source. And so it would be that entity's responsibility. And then two, after it gets, you know, to the road or whatever it is, you know, then the stormwater drainage system, to the extent there may be a problem with that, then that becomes the responsibility of another entity. And if the commission can remember that particular meeting, the extent of frustration that the public had, and the kind of theories they had about why things were happening the way they did, they were distinctly, you know, all over the place. But that's neither here nor there, because they're the public. You know, they're gonna come at us from a whole variety of positions. We, the staff of the county in those two appropriate departments, are the experts. You know, they're the ones that can identify the problem and figure out how it resolved, how the problem get resolved. You know, and we cannot, you know, simply, you know, point fingers at each other, because if we do that, the problem is not gonna get resolved. And the public are gonna be the victim. And so for now, from our departmental perspectives, my humble opinion is there needs to be some collective effort to figure out. So if you can convince Public Works that that's their problem and convince them to do something about it, that's a win. But if we keep on pointing fingers at each other and nobody moves, then the public is who suffers, I think. And the commission ultimately is gonna get tired, members of the public coming every time and reminding us of the problems that they're facing. So I don't know what the pleasure of the rest of the commission is on this one. It is just an informational item, and I'm hoping that it will stay on the commission's agenda until we arrive at some acceptable.
So the chair, just really quick, I think this is something that senior leadership and let's say the organizational chart in the county from DPW of San Mateo County and Parks have to collectively collab and see, hey, what is it that we can do to maybe better communicate, just so that we don't get continuous havoc from members of the public, or maybe that's not the correct word for it, but just as Chair O'Kello mentioned, we don't want to constantly get reminded of time and again until we have a better idea of, is something going to get resolved, without having to continuously pick up a phone, get on the laptop, send 35 different emails and say, is this thing going to get resolved? I'm sure that Parks director and their senior leadership probably are always in communication with Public Works and the city of San Mateo and different, city of Redwood City and city of this and city of that, and say, hey, this is an important part of our commission. This is important, I am head of this department. Let's see if we can try to collaborate and work together. That's all I say, that could be done for future.
Thank you for your comments, and we cannot direct the Parks Department to do anything. That's not our role.
No. And
No,
not suggesting that either.
no, can we direct the Department of Public Works to do anything? All we can do is say that, the public is coming to us with a problem, and we need to figure out how it's resolved. So the departments are gonna come together at some point and figure out how to resolve it. However, but one obligation we have, we're an advisory board to the Board of Supervisors. So if we see issues that are unresolvable, over a period of time, then our obligation is to take it to that level. That's the body that we advise. We don't advise the department. That's the body that we advise. And so ultimately, it's up to the commission to think about, okay, if we need to take it there, then that's where we need to go with it. And I'm gonna reiterate that point in some other item that we're gonna be talking about in a minute. And so, yes.
I'll just say one more comment through the chair. I did actually really like your idea of having someone from DPW come, and I'm actually kind of sad that someone couldn't come here from DPW to represent that side. And we've been getting a lot from the Parks Department, and I honestly feel like a reason why the public comes to us, as a commission and the Parks Department, is because maybe we listen more than maybe some other public entities do. So I don't know. I still think it would be great to get someone from DPW to come and at least address it, because that's the other part about this commission, right? It basically will allow the constituents, right, of the county to be able to kind of interact or interface in ways that they might not be able to do with DPW or the Parks Department, right? So I think if we could do something like that, that would be fantastic. Now, I don't know if they'll ever agree to it, but I do think that would be a really good way to kind of keep this thing going, if at all possible.
Any other? Yes.
Sure. I think the important thing, and I agree that viewpoint of having this commission be more approachable to the public is important.
Yeah.
I also think there are other layers of the county that are also looking at more broadly at stormwater management on the coast, and so that sometimes the departments are only the implementers, and where we really want to reach out and speak to are these other organizations that are looking at the broader strategic approaches and laying out the policy. So if our closing this loop is to advise the Board of Supervisors to support things. It would not be a specific project as much as a overall policy of this is where what we want included at the county level. And there are a number of other initiatives going on that are probably not just the DPW person needs to be in the room, but
Yeah.
we need to understand what those other actions are as well as other initiatives. And again, for not necessary for our benefit, for the benefit of the public who may
Right.
not hear about them any other way.
Right. Are we ready to proceed? I have your permission. So open it to the public, any members of the public who want to make a
Yeah.
comment on this?
So I have no speaker slips, but have one hand raised in Zoom for Burnett Silveria. Burnett, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Burnett Silvera, El Granada. First, I'd like to say we appreciate a response from the commission. This matter has repeatedly been before the commission since Commissioner Green took an interest in the issue during the latter part of her appointment. One thing I think is missing here is you're not stressing the fact that the problem with Quarry Park is a dangerous problem. We have flooding. You've seen pictures that we've been provided to you that provide dangerous conditions down sidewalks, intersections, in front of people's houses, etc. So we're not asking to solve all the problems, but it is a dangerous issue that we are facing here at Quarry Park. That's the same thing when you're talking about the Mid-Coast wide problem with flooding. Yes, Mid-Coast has a problem that's in multiple areas, but not all of those areas are dangerous to the residents that live in those areas. This flooding stormwater at Quarry Park is. The second thing is there are things within the park that could be done. One example that I had given in the past is managing the water level in the dam. If that can be managed, or at least looked at and studied that it could be, because most of the flooding that we get down the streets is when the dam is full and all the water runs out the spillways. The additional thing about working together, if you go back to the master plan, the geotechnical experts recognized the problem of flooding from Quarry Park, the stormwater flooding from Quarry Park. And they pointed out that it did require a joint effort among multiple departments and that working together. So that is something that's been recognized. Again, thank you for your continuing work on this matter. And I just good luck to those of you that are leaving the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Burnett. And that is all for public comment.
Okay, that being the case, we can move on to the next item. The establishment of the 2024 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting schedule.
Should be 2025, apologies, since that's not.
2025, sorry. 2025 Parks and Rec Commission meeting schedule, and this is an action item. So, Commissioner, what is your plan?
You want to explain a little bit how we set up the
I'll
calendar?
have staff do that.
All right, similar to prior years, what is provided is a resolution to set the meeting calendar for the next calendar year. This is a part of the commission bylaws, indicating that at this time meetings are held monthly at the date, time, and location the commission establishes by resolution. And so this resolution that's included for action today outlines a proposed meeting schedule where there are monthly meetings included, and similar to what was done for the meetings last year, or sorry, for this calendar year, 2024, where we've had some meetings occur in person in a park site. And so those are proposed for April, June, and September with locations still to be determined. But the rest of the meetings would be set as indicated in that table for in-person hybrid meetings with remote participation available here in the this criminal justice training room. One item to note for the January meeting is that is on the second Thursday of the month. The first Thursday is January 2nd, and it was the assumption that most people, either from a public participant or commission or staff perspective, may be less available. And so propose shifting that to the second Thursday. And then there is summer recess proposed for July, which lines up with police supervisors having their summer recess that month as well.
Any comments?
Through the chair, I appreciate the way the schedule is set up, which allows us the flexibility for those in-person meetings to be determined at a time closer to the actual event, so that we have some flexibility to choose which site would be most appropriate based on construction or other events that develop. And I think this gives us a good balance of the formal meetings we have here in the county center, with the opportunity to have some actual face time with constituents who might not otherwise travel. So my recommendation to that.
Any other comments?
Through the chair, I'm actually surprised the meetings are not in the nice shiny new building that you guys just maybe later in the year, next year, right?
I've been asking that for a month and a couple of years.
We tried, for the time being, we think it's best to continue to have the meetings in this space.
I did get the tour of the new facility.
None of us did.
And I was, very, very impressed. And I was shown the space that the Parks and Recreation Commission may have its meetings. It's not ready yet. It's gonna have its meetings, and even more impressed, a lot more spacious and things. I would say public friendly and certainly commission friendly. You don't feel all squished in.
You don't like being this close to everyone, Meta?
Uh,
I think it has windows.
We don't want
No, it has
to
windows, it has overlooks that, I mean, it's just impressive to be in that space, and regretting that, hey, I'm not gonna be able to meet as a commission since I'm timing out, so. But it's a good space. I do have some questions, and not questions, I do have some suggestions and some concerns. I'm glad the next meeting is moved to January the 9th. We didn't have much of a choice there. But one thing I would like the commission to think about is that I think we should not have any meeting out in the parks at all until certain conditions are met. And I think this is an issue that I've brought to the commission previously. Our meetings are public meetings. And I think we're obligated to record. There are 5 of us. We're meeting in public, we're discussing items. The public has a right to know, even after the fact, as to what it is that we talked about. Thus far, those meetings have not been recorded. And there have been instances in which we've even forgotten some of the things that the public say. This Quarry Park thing almost did not get back on our agenda until a member of the public reminded us that, hey, wait a minute. You know, because we do not record this meeting. You know, we don't have minutes of our meetings and so on and so forth. And at those particular meetings, at Quarry Park, we do not have a PA system. And so for the most part, hearing folks, may have been a little bit difficult and so on and so forth. So there are certain things that I believe and think very, very strongly that we have to do just to be decent, we're gonna give public a voice. So if there are more than 20 people, having a microphone system makes sense, especially if you're out. And having those meetings recorded is very, very important. And thus far, we've been unwilling or unable or incapable of doing that. So I would like to suggest to the commission, understanding, of course, this is my last meeting with this. I would like to suggest to the commission, until those conditions are met, I think we can suspend meeting in other places other than this until those corrections are made. Because with this space, people can still participate in Zoom, even if they live in South San Francisco. So they can participate. And to the extent that the meetings are recorded, we have a recorded document of what transpired at the meeting. I've been meeting in this place until we create a method of recording and a method of having a decent conversation with the public. I think we should consider. I suggest to the commission strongly that we should consider, suspending those meetings. Now, there are two very distinct meetings that were particularly very well attended. When we met at the captain's house, because there was a hard issue. And when we met, when we met at Quarry Park, because, also there was a hard issue. That flooding was a big issue for them. So they came, they came. The other meetings, Flood Park did not have anybody other than Mr. Kennedy. And so I think it's more important to us to have the vehicle through which members of the public throughout the county can participate in our meetings. And until we can ascertain that, until we can make that possible, I would like to persuade the rest of the committee that we consider not having any meetings outside of this place.
Well, through the chair, I actually had a relatively similar comment, but I was actually thinking that we actually just put minutes together, right? Because I would totally agree with you. I mean, obviously the PA system and doing all that kind of stuff would be great as well. But at a minimum, I would think having minutes from the meeting and whoever does it, right? Whether it's
Right.
park staff, whether it's a commissioner or whatever, I think is just table stakes, right? Because the point that you made, and actually is a really good point, that a lot of the stuff from, Quarry Park, right, was just like in my notebook and it was like nowhere else, right?
Right.
And I think that, while when we have meetings here, obviously they're recorded. I don't know if anyone goes back and looks at them, but they could if they wanted to, right? And so I do think at a minimum, having minutes for those in-person ones, I think would be really, really helpful. Now, I would love to have the other ones. I don't know how feasible those are, right? Like having a PA system or some like voice record. I wouldn't even know how we would do that if we're doing like a walking tour or whatever, but even having some record, I think would be helpful.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I think that, again, I think there's a huge value in being out in the community and that, yes, the issues were important, but many of the people who met us out in the community don't tune into these. So I would argue the reverse, that going out into the community actually gave more people the opportunity to meet with us than otherwise. And I think having the first on-site meeting be in April gives us 3 months to address it early next year with the new commission and to figure out those are logistical details that we can be creative and come up with solutions, right? I mean, I can drag my PA system if y'all need that. Easy to do. We had a bullhorn
at Cory.
Yeah,
We had amplification.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
allowed members of the public to use it. So, I mean, members of the public were able to
so that might not be the best solution, but we can riff off that.
enjoy using it.
Yeah, so,
And I have one.
Any other
one
comments?
question, the chair. So I'm gonna agree to disagree with the commission, with the chair, and I'm gonna echo what Commissioner Laguna and strongly echo what Vice Chair Rodriguez said. Personally, away from this room and in life, I am all about community, 1001%. So engaging with those, and I think this would be like even some closing remarks of this 2024 year. I am glad 1000% that we got to engage in the community. Granted, there's no video, there's no overhead, there's no public comment in cameras, and what Chair O'Kello said made some strong points, very abundantly clear about the general public not being able to hear us clearly, but going out to the community like Half Moon Bay and like Cory and even meeting those on the flood park projects. We got to see something that I probably wouldn't have ever thought in my lifetime I would engage with people on because my background is not construction, it's more people person, customer service, community engagement, conventions, conferences. So I'm the one that encourages meeting people from the public. So Cory was a great opportunity to hear people from the coast and Coyote Point, when we did our nice little field trip and walked with multiple amount of groups and different engagements. So I encourage more outdoors. Granted, we have a due diligence to, as commissioners, and to meet in a public setting. But I also think that part of our being appointed and relaying back to our county supervisor and what we learned is to also be engaging in the community. And that's what I think is really crystal clear what we need to, moving forward, continue to do. It's kind of hybrid, half Redwood City and half offsite.
any other comments? I think, all the statements that they made are valid. And I just had to make my piece. Can you open it to the public, see whether we have any comments?
Yeah, I have no speaker slips for this item and one hand raised in Zoom for Burnett. Burnett, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Just for sort of my 2 cents and some of the individuals I talked to, it was quite helpful to have the meeting at the Cory Park in this instance. But it doesn't always work well. I wanted to go, for example, go down to the Tanitas meeting, but unfortunately hurt my back and wasn't able to attend. So I had, other than the agenda, had almost no idea exactly what was covered during that meeting, to give you an example. Further, I wasn't sure of Commissioner Green's name. Because it had been so long, so I tried to go back and look at videos, look at minutes, look at something. Even the agenda didn't even list the commissioners on the agenda. So after spending an hour or so trying to find it within, either doing a Google search or within the records of the county and for the commission, I finally had to go back to my own notes. So it's very important to have minutes or some kind of memorialization of what happens at these meetings, so that somebody can go back and look at them. And do people look at these videos? Yes, they do, particularly if for some reason that you can't attend it. So it is important to have either some kind of memorialization through minutes or a video available. And it's also important, though, when you do the agenda, that you're careful as to what you're going to discuss at some of these sites where it's going to be less access to the public, because there may be things that are quite interested that people want to comment on. And if you discuss those at a park site or an off-site, people will not be able to do that. And that's a big detriment to the community. So thank you for the opportunity, but it is a plus, but with some caveats.
Thank you, Burnett. And that's all for public comment.
That's all for public comments. This is an action item and I'm willing to entertain a motion. My colleagues,
I move we vote to approve the resolution put forth. Resolution to 2024-03 to establish our regular meeting schedule for calendar year 2025.
Second, that motion.
well, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution that has been presented to us regarding the schedule for 2025, as is. We're ready to take a vote.
You want me to do roll call for this?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Monet,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez Mitten,
Yes.
Commissioner Laguna,
Yes.
and Chair Kello.
No.
The motion passes.
Item 7.3, Commissioner's Annual Report to the Board of Supervisors. This is an informational item. When I first came to the commission 12 years ago, we did not have bylaws. We established a committee and we got some bylaws. We did not have committees. We're not even aware that we are required by the ordinance that established this commission that we needed to annually report to the Board of Supervisors. So we did not even know that. We did not have an action plan. That's how an action plan got subsequently created, and we got into a path to where we are right now. And all of that is sort of understandable. Why? Because at one point this department almost did not exist. It had been gotten rid of in some kind of way. So back in 2012, this thing was getting recreated. The department was sort of recreating itself. And so we went through a whole series of directors, and that instability, perhaps instability is too strong a word, but that uncertainty at the departmental management level was not conducive, to the commission certainly being able to function in the manner that it should have functioned. So up to this very moment, we've not submitted one report to the Board of Supervisors. And I would strongly suggest that we need to change that. Yeah. I'd be willing, even after I leave this position, after I leave the commission, to work with the news chair. And I would like to encourage Commissioner Laguna to do the same thing, because Commissioner Laguna served for 2 years. So whatever report we give is gonna cover much longer period. And I think it would be good for you and I, to be present and, to finally fulfill the obligation that we should have had from the beginning. And so that's the reason that I think we felt we needed to add that item to our agenda and sort of discuss as to how and when and when we're gonna present this multi-annual report, to the board of supervisors. And I know the board of supervisors schedule is not, we can't say we're gonna do it in January, we've gotta work with the staff, with the county manager staff, to figure out how and when we could fit in. So that's the background of this item.
Chair, I think I haven't let anyone down or even myself, but I'm a little bit disappointed of myself that and I need to, since I was just reappointed, and I need to, and I think we wholeheartedly and in the future of finding and bringing on 2 new commissioners in the upcoming year, willingness that I think we could at least do a simple part and contacting our our supervisor who appointed us. I need to, because I have a good rapport with David Canepa, who's sits on District 5's Board of Supervisor, and he's a vice chair currently. I need to reach out to him and say, hey, Supervisor Canepa, when is a good time, or when can the commissioners or a commissioner or a spokesperson from this park commission attend one of the meetings and say, hey, hello, we exist, do you know we are a body of commissioners, and there's a lot that gets done, and there's a multi-million-dollar budget with multi projects happening, and a lot of exciting things are gonna happen for parks. So hello again, can you give us the 2 minutes of saying, hey, let one of the commissioners speak on behalf of the Parks Commission and say, this is what we've learned. We could have acted on this sooner, but we are here today to speak on what we have thus far collected and what we've done in the past year or years. And I'm sure they're gonna enjoy it, one, and they're gonna appreciate it too, that someone took the time from their appointees to come in the chambers and speak about this great commission that we currently have. I don't see any wrongdoing in that at all. I don't know how
Thank
the
you,
rest.
Commissioner Monet.
Thank you.
So, any other comments?
I guess I'll go next. Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's something that we've missed for quite a while. Obviously, we forgot about the fact that COVID kind of happened in the middle of this, because I think like when I first started, there was one yearly update that we had done. And then all of us went into our living rooms for a couple years there. So I do think that we probably owe it to the Board of Supervisors to kind of provide some update on what's been going on. Obviously, I think it would probably be best to have it, post kind of our replacements, but like you were suggesting, I'd be happy to participate or help
Right.
kind of put some stuff together, even post my time here, to kind of make sure there's that continuity and that we have a good representation
Right.
of the stuff that we've done the last couple of years. So I think that's a great idea.
There you go. Any comments?
Yes, through the chair, I appreciate you bringing this up, and informing us of what was my first question was like, well, let's use the last one as a template, but if there never was one, we don't have that. But I'm sure that other commissions do. And it would be something to put into the work plan for the commission in 2025. And appreciate that both of you, departing commissioners, are willing to pass the torch in a very literal sense by helping to at least compile something. Because it's an important piece of information to put together, and certainly not something we want to just kind of invent ourselves, so.
Okay, so this was just an informational item. The commission certainly has a sense of direction as to where we need to go with this one. Okay, so any comments from the public?
No speaker slips. I have one hand raised for Burnett. Burnett, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to keep going, but I think it's critical for you guys to be getting those reports. Look, I draw a parallel to the department update that you guys get. Maybe not as much detail, but you see the different commissioners that have different questions about different things that are in the update that the supervisors may have the same. If the supervisors aren't getting this, the information and you're just talking to your individual supervisor about things, I don't think they can get the same picture, and they may have additional questions and interests that they may want to pose to you. So I believe it's really critical that you have some kind of group interaction with the supervisors rather than individually. And again, to point out the work that you do, or that to remind them that there are things there and that you are a resource for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Given that, I think, unless there are additional comments, I think we're ready to.
Yeah, no further comment.
There being no further public comments, I think we can move to item number 7.4. And thank you for preparing this guide. Yeah, this is most helpful. But before I get into it, I'd just like to point out that the commission may have to think about amending the bylaw. So the bylaw states as to what needs to get done in terms of nominations. Nominations happen in October. The time period is different. So I think maybe it's time to revisit those bylaws and make them as simple as document in front of you indicates. So in accordance with the commission bylaw will be amended. We must annually nominate and elect the chair and the vice chair. And the chair and the vice chairs are chosen from among the commission members and serve until December 31st. Or until successors are elected. So for today, we're going to begin with first nomination and election of the chair. And subsequently, we're going to move on to the election of the vice chair. Now, any commissioner who is present may nominate a fellow commissioner or nominate him or herself. Just her. A nominee may decline their nomination. And no second is required for a nomination. So with your permission, Commissioner, let us proceed with the office of the chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
I would like to make a nomination. When able. I would like to nominate Commissioner Rodriguez Milton for the 2025 chair of this Parks Commission.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nomination, we now hold an election for chair. The election is by a majority vote of the commissioners present at today's meeting.
Through the chair, consistent with what you had mentioned a minute ago, that anybody who's nominated may decline the nomination, perhaps before moving forward.
Commissioner Rodriguez, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination as chair, to be chair.
Therefore, not hearing any further nominations, and given the fact that Commissioner Rodriguez has accepted the nominations, we're gonna get ready to vote. So,
Commissioner Monet,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez Mitten, I don't know.
May I abstain?
Did she vote
I-
for herself? Yeah.
Let me step back for a
Yeah.
sec. There's no motion required or second required for the nomination, but there does need to be a motion. To appoint Commissioner Rodriguez Mitten as the chair for the next year with a second.
So I'd like to make the motion that we accept we accept the nomination for Chair of the Parks and Recreation for the year 2025, Commissioner Rodriguez. Do I get a second? Second. It's been properly motioned and it's probably seconded, I'm gonna go straight to a vote.
Commissioner
And
Mannay.
you may vote for yourself, yes.
Okay.
But I may abstain as well?
You may abstain.
Commissioner Mannay,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez Min,
I will abstain.
and Commissioner Laguna.
Yes.
Three yeses and one abstention, and I think we do have a new chair. Congratulations. And now let us proceed to the office of the vice chair. And I'm gonna ask the same questions again now. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I will like to nominate Commissioner Manay as vice chair.
Commissioner Manay has been nominated. But before we move on, are there any other nominations for vice chair? There being none, this silence is breaking my back. There being none, Commissioner Manay, do you accept the nomination as vice chair?
Actually, I will accept the nomination. Thank you.
And with Commissioner Manay accepting and hearing no further nominations, we will now hold an election for vice chair.
Motion.
Could I get somebody to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to have Commissioner Manning be vice chair for the 2025 year.
Can I get a second?
I will second that motion.
It's been appropriately motioned and appropriately seconded to accept the nomination of Commissioner Manay as chair. I presume there's no discussion. So can we hold a vote?
Commissioner Mannay.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez Min,
Yes.
Commissioner Laguna.
Yes.
Well, with a vote of 4, yay. Congratulations, Commissioner Manay. You're gonna be the vice chair for 2025. Recreation. What a wonderful day it is. What a wonderful day it is. Any public?
No hands raised in Zoom and no speaker slips for this item.
Public is all like that. Very nice. Very nice. That's yes. Subcommittee reports. Subcommittee updates. We're gonna go one by one, and if there is, just say yay, and if there's not, if there is none, that's how we can rapidly respond. Budget and performance subcommittee. No report, as far as I know. I'm partly part of that committee. Equity, inclusion, and access subcommittee. Hearing nothing. No report, I presume. Partnership and connection subcommittee. I'm on that committee. Any reports there? The agenda subcommittee. And then the ad hoc fish and game sub. It still exists now that we've given our recommendations to the board. Is there anything that committee may wanna share with us?
Chair, at this point, I think, we could probably disband that, recognizing that when the call for project opens again in 2 years, that'll be reestablished.
Okay. So that's probably a subsequent action that we can take at the next. I can't actually, that's a item that we're gonna take some action on. Let's look at item 10. Any open out to the public again? I'm sorry.
We need to call for any public comment on item 8, subcommittee updates. Seeing no hands raised for public comment for this item.
There being no hands raised. We can move on to item number 9. Items for a future agenda. So again, I'm gonna go through them. And County Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Initiatives. That stays on the agenda.
I think that's something I will be, through the chair. It's something that I am part of, and I think myself and our newly chair, could be working on in a extensive way to continue to, create and bring diversity into our county parks for the upcoming year.
Yeah. Any comment, any additional comments on that? There being none, 9.2, partnerships and connections. Whole idea of having representatives of partner organizations, come to some of our meetings and make presentations to what they do and how they partner with the Parks and Rec department in terms of what they do. And also a discussion on what other county departments can provide some of our meetings. So is it the pleasure of the commission to keep that on our potential future agenda?
Through the chair, I actually think that this might be a good way to, bring in a breath of fresh air, right? I mean, obviously, we get like the foundation and the Parks Department to give us updates a lot of times.
Right.
And I know it's been tough, right, to get a lot of folks to
Right.
kind of come in here, but I think it could be valuable, right? Just to be able to have different perspectives. Unfortunately, something that we weren't able to do this year,
Right,
but I do feel like it's gonna be something that would be really important as we move forward. And I don't know if it's the partner organizations that we listed here or someone else, but I do think that it would be good to have kind of some new voices and some new speakers in here to represent different perspectives.
I could not agree with you more. I don't think the rest of the commission probably has. 9.3, update on sustainability actions for the Parks Department on alignment with action plan for County Office of Sustainability.
Yes, I would like to keep that on as an item for a future agenda.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. Fuel reduction project updates. I think that's something the commission requested of the staff to provide regular, sustained, updates. I presume everybody's desire would be to keep that on the agenda, on future agenda items. And 9.5, I think was a request for the summary of revitalized Coyote Point survey. I think that was a real specific item. That was put there, I think, fairly recently. So I think probably the expectation of the commission is that's something that they would like to see. Of course, subcommittee structure and assignments. So we keep the subcommittees that we have, we get new ones, do we keep the ad hoc fish and game? We retire it, and so I think you'd agree with me, everybody, that that's something we want to keep on there. And then 9.7 is processes to address public comment. I think personally, or leaving, personally very much interested in that, so at least the public knows that if they bring a concern to this commission, they have a pretty good idea as to how it's gonna be dealt with. And at what point, should they expect either some informational item to come back or expect the item to be put on the agenda. I think generally agree that that's something that we should keep on our future agenda item. Yeah,
Agreed.
very, very good. Any comments from the from the commission? Sorry.
Thank you. Through the
Yeah.
chair, I have a couple of things I'd like the commission to consider adding to this items for future agenda that have come up, I think, questions today. Which is kind of and this again can be part of a request to include in regular department updates, but status of park vendor RFPs and a little more transparency into that process. The process for conducting meetings outdoors. And I would like council to perhaps prepare a presentation or help us with not only the processes to address public comment, but the any process to remedy or to manage comments that could be interpreted as verbally abusive to staff or commissioners. I would like guidance on that from council. Those are my suggestions.
Any other ones?
I have one through the chair, Chair Kello. 9.7 is the process to addressing public comment. So whether it's on an index card, whether it's a member of the public, or whether it's somebody on Zoom or having their hands raised, we have no clue or no inkling what is on someone's mind and how they approach the commissioners, they approach senior leadership of the Parks Department or any division of what's on their mind. I think, and I'm gonna speak to something that one of the members of the public has been on a constant, continuous basis, time and again, month after month after month. And we don't know what their behavior is gonna be, whether it's content or whether it's gonna be malicious or vulgar. I think they have to know when making these public address comments that they do know that there are other people listening in on this, and this is a government building, and there are people of leadership that they know how to convey how they speak politely and being candid and like following sort of like the rules of the road of being diplomatic, because we this 2024 calendar year of these meetings, we were faced with one particular individual that came quite a bit 0 to 100 at 101 every time he wanted to make his point, and whatever subjective matter was. I don't think it was pleasantly done. And I don't think that,
I appreciate.
so that's moving forward.
Yeah,
I think-
I appreciate your comments, but I think the item that Vice Chair Rodriguez suggested we add, I think would cover your concern. How do we handle inappropriate comments or comments that can be considered not only inappropriate, but can be considered abusive? So there's gonna be a specific item that's gonna address that particular issue.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, great. And so, any public?
Yes, we have one hand raised for public comment for Burnett. Burnett, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, Burnett Savera, El Granada again. Since the Quarry Park stormwater dangerous flooding is still a continuing issue, I would ask that that be indicated as a future agenda item so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle, so to speak. So if you could consider that, we would appreciate your consideration of that request. The other thing that might pass along, it may be of value, it may not, but the Mid-Coast Community Council had some issues with some derogatory comments being made and developed I don't know if it was a process, but a procedure, it's some guidance as to how to handle that kind of an issue. If it's of interest to you, you could probably reach out to them and see what that guidance may look like. It may be helpful to you or not, but it is something that has recently been faced by that council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is the second time you've reminded us, the commission, that we need not to forget, the Quarry Park flooding, and we needed to put it down. So thank you for that. Thank you. Seriously for that. Are we ready to move to it?
Yes, we have,
Okay, so,
we have 5 minutes.
yeah, we have 2 minutes. So,
Something I didn't want to move to, but I guess we have to
so,
be faced
you
with.
know, at some point you have to say farewell, so I'll defer to Commissioner Laguna.
Yeah, and I guess I'll be brief, but above all else, I just wanted to thank everyone for the wonderful couple of years, from Supervisor Pine appointing me to the commissioners, and even some commissioners that are no longer with us as well. Everyone here in this room, you guys have been really awesome to me. I thought that we've had a lot of really good times, and more than anything else, I think you guys have done a really good job of helping me do what I've wanted to do from the beginning, which is, to really help out the local community in a unique way that, I wouldn't have been able to do had I not been in this actual role. And so I really wanted to thank everyone for all the great times. It's been an honor to serve on this commission for the last couple of years. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing kind of where the commission goes, kind of post myself and Commissioner Okello rolling off. I think, we're in good hands, or you guys are in good hands. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing kind of what you guys are able to do as we transition into 2025. But thank you everyone for all the good times, and I'll be keeping tabs on you one way or another as we move on into the next year. Commissioner Keller.
Very good, and I want to thank you particularly because you came at a time and we propelled you into the chairship position, when you're still an infant. You just said, you're gonna be there. And I think you did a phenomenal job, and I think that we really do collectively need to show appreciation for that. And I would also echo your comments. I'd like to thank staff for all the support. Certainly want to thank the Parks and Parks Foundation for your regular, reports that you give to us, and the financial support that you provide to a variety of initiatives, whether they're departmental initiatives or financing some school that needs a bus to go from point A to one of the parks and so on and so forth. I really appreciate, the works that the Parks and Recreation, Parks Foundation does. 12 years is a long time. 12 years is a long time. And when I got appointed, I did not do the entire 12. I wanted to do 4. And I spoke with the supervisor and says, what, for purposes of making citizens appreciate what governance is, I should not be reappointed. We should try to get somebody, to take over so as wide a spectrum of people in the county can get to experience, county government. And so it did not work as we both anticipated, because subsequent to the first 4 years, I was never reappointed for an entire 4-year term. It was a reappointment every year. I was getting so for the last 8 years, it's been like every year I get reappointed. But it has been an extremely wonderful journey for me. I've met folks, You know, I've worked with folks with this commission that I truly admire and truly respect, including each and every one of you that are still serving. And I'm hopeful that Laguna and I are gonna begin a trend. And the trend basically is we're gonna leave the commission with 1 foot. We're gonna keep 1 foot in the commission. Cause I think it sort of saddens me that, you know, probably all the previous commissioners, you know, it's sort of just, it's as if retirement or, you know, the fact that they left this state, they left the planet. You know, and, you know, there's no, you know, sort of connection, but I think we can tap into their knowledge. We can certainly tap into their experience. And I think we need to create the sort of camaraderie, you know, that sort of keeps on expanding as we leave, you know, this larger group of commissioners and ex-commissioners get bigger and bigger, you know, and we can be called upon, you know, to help in the various committees, you know, that previous commissioners may have been involved with and so on and so forth. And we can tap into their knowledge and just call them and say, hey, we need help in this subcommittee. Can you help us? So Laguna and I are promising.
I'm ready.
I'm
I'm
saying that, you know, we're willing to certainly help in, you know, in any of the work that you do. And so looking at the future, there are certain things that I hope happen. And this is my dreaming now. I hope that the county will get the resources, so we get a staff person that can act as a secretary to this commission. So that all the meetings that we have, you know, we do have minutes. And at meetings, we will approve those minutes. And so we keep tabs on the stuff that we're doing. And we also keep tabs on the expectations, you know, that the public, have for us. And then the other thing is this, and this is a total pipe dream. One of the things that has happened in our history, there's one time this commission convened a meeting of all the parks and recreation commissions in the and we met in the city of San Mateo community room. And we had an occasion to rub shoulders with, we shared what we did and they shared what we did. Or they shared what they did and so on and so forth. You know, but sort of we were not able to continue that. Primarily because, you know, the directorship of the department was, you know, sort of unstable. So and so there's a new person. So, you know, we lost the sense of community and so on. And our goal was basically very, very simple, you know, sort of helping those people, Parks and Recreation, know what resources we have that's available. And they can participate in encouraging people in their community to visit our park because they're there. They're there for them, they're their park. You know, so we were hoping to really form relationships across the entire country, from East Palo Alto to South San Francisco, and establish those connections with the goal of just building up this excitement around what the county parks department or the county of San Mateo has in terms of parks. And so I hope at some point, you know, there could even be some budgetary allocation that allows the Parks Commission to be able to do, you know, things, you know, like that. And those are the types of things that when we go to the Board of Supervisors, we can ask. Once again, thank you so very much. It's been such a great pleasure. And we don't have a gavel, but I would have taken that gavel home with me. Final gavel and everything. So
I'll promise to make it brief to the chair. Look, that'll put me as now the longest standing commissioner being on here going on 9 years. 8 and it has been such a pleasure to have not just you, and you've taught me a lot, through the time that I started, and you welcomed me when I was, just a member of the public and just, shy about it, and, when I was, asked to, be, appointed by my supervisor and, took on a responsibility, and you helped pave the way to become a stronger person, because I've never been on a commission per se in this capacity. And so it's been such a pleasure to have you, your second, third go around, maybe as a chair, and through the multiple directors that we've had. And now we've got a very, very strong park director that's, has a vision for many more years, for the foreseeable future. And, Commissioner Laguna, who, brought us as a body during COVID and during our living room kitchens of Zoom meetings during pandemic, and just being able to take control. I think he was the right person for the right time during his leadership and what he brought from being part of the Parks Commission for the Parks Foundation, and his background in this, I think, doesn't go without mentioning. It doesn't go it doesn't go unnoticed. So it is with great humbleness and pleasure that we thank you so much as current commissioners, to know that you did impeccable work during the time that you were chair, and the tough times that we were going through as a department.
That being the case, we hopefully are ending the meeting before 6 o'clock, which is pretty good.
45
The sheriff hasn't
hard.
come in yet. I think we're good. Yeah. Waiting outside. But there's,
No, that's it.
Any of the leadership have anything to say?
well, there's public comment. I will just say, we really do appreciate both of, the work that both of you have done. As people have said, pandemics, wildfires, dogs, Tunitas, flood, pump tracks, we've, CDCR crews, we've done it all. And we appreciate all of your support, all your commitment to the residents of this county and to this system. So thank you.
Going to Memorial Park for the hunt, that was probably, I think, the biggest
100th year
thing,
anniversary,
probably the best thing I attended this year.
That was great.
good.
We have one hand raised in Zoom for public comment for Burnett. Burnett, you should be able to unmute.
Just quickly, just again, would like to thank all the commissioners for the work that they do. It's much appreciated. If you, even though you may not always see that or understand that, it is the public, the group that I'm with knows how the difficult work that you do and the time that you put in, and it is much appreciated. And Chair Okello, I hope I'm pronounced that correctly. If you look at your picture on the Parks Commission's website and compare that to now, we can tell you've been on the commission for a while.
Oh, Lord.
And I don't mean that. Don't mean
It was
that.
all black, now it's all gray.
But the picture you have on the website is a very nice picture. Young, vibrant man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that,
Thank you.
meeting is adjourned.
If we could get a picture of the
I-
commissioners.
Right, right.